we're going to get into the color and like heroic figures. I'm going to use Super Bugs and Batsuit Wile E. Coyote in a drawing I did as a little bit of an example of like why colors mean things. It's my fancy case. Well, not, yeah. Hey, jars, all my paintbrushes are done in a coffee mug. So I just put them in a coffee mug and then I can just pull them out. Makes it easy. All right. So while we're waiting for some people to get on, let's go into Scott, if you can go overhead. There we go. All right. So color of heroic figures. Wait. And why we use some of the colors that we do. So when we had talked about what colors mean, they've got positives and negatives, right? And if we balance some like colors, like say a red can be hazard, stop, danger, but it can also be power, right? And energy. So what if we, we've got a red cape, which if we did like red and black might seem a little ominous, but if we do red and mix that with blue, blue is a more trusting color. And we've got yellow, which is a like friendlier color. It can also mean cowardness, right? So we're kind of balancing the friendly of yellow with the stability and trust of blue and that powerful of red. And that combination gives us more of a hero style color palette. Even greens, right? So I know this is Batsuit Wile E, not Batman Wile E. But even in our greens, green is a stable color. When we get more yellowy green, it can have a little bit more energy and personality to it. It can also mean like overdone, like way too ostentatious is not the word I want to use, but it's kind of in that realm, like where it's gaudy, right? And when we balance those out in here with a little bit of a darker green, and that kind of brings out that more positive features and characters. And then I've got Stupor Duck, and his is a little more lighter, friendlier blue. His is a little bit darker blue, which means the darker blues that you get to that remove, say any like lighter tones, you get it's still stable, but it's also very dry. So there's not a lot of personality in that. And he's just giving him the evil eye because look he tried. He really did. We'll give it to him. So anyway, kind of an example here of heroic colors. We're going to take this into our drawings for today. So this is what I'm doing this for somebody who donated some stuff to us, and it's pretty darn awesome what they donated. All right, let's get into this. So everybody's got their stuff. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to concentrate first before we get into applying color to our figure is applying color to actually one of our sketches, and then doing something a little bit with texture. So how we can take maybe battle damage, right, on some metal pieces and stuff like that and start to manipulate the color in that so it's not just a solid color. So y'all got your colors. I've got my colors. Now in the seahorse, just in nature itself, and we're going to keep this to nature's colors here. We have our oranges, we've got some yellows in here, and if you look, so remember when we're doing shadows on things, don't just go to a darker color, right? So if you're using orange, don't just use dark orange. If you're using blue, don't just use dark blue. Use their contrasting colors, and in this case, orange, and the contrasting color to that is purple. So when we get into here, actually yellow and purple, but when we get into this, look at how in the shadows of here, you can see that purple. I'm gonna go in a little tighter. All right, there we go. So you can see that, look at in there, it's not just a darker orange, there's more of a purple in there, and it's kind of a reddish purple a little bit, not necessarily a bluish purple. So you can see how even in the shadows of this, right, we're not just using a darker color of orange. So depending on what you're using, if you're using markers, you want to go lighter to darker. If you're using colored pencils, you can start a little bit lighter, and depending on how soft your lead is, you can blend. Crayons, if you're rolling crayons, I would go lighter to darker. All right, so always start in that lighter tone, and I'm going to start up here. So just to concentrate on the head and this piece. So you guys can see mine, and if it's already pinned up there, I want you to go ahead and just start to apply some color. Notice too where the shadows is. Our light source is on the top. So like this part of his face right here is in a shadow. So you'd have your lighter oranges and stuff up there. We don't necessarily have to color the whole thing on this, but I'm going to get in my yellows a little bit more in the top. It's okay if you see your pencil marks. That's not a big deal. I just broke my lead. It's sad. All right, and we're concentrating on the head first. So go ahead and you can see where the picture is. Go ahead and concentrate on that first. And we will get this in. All right, even in where my eye is. And I'm breaking my lead again. All right. So remember yesterday when we were kind of going through details, right? There's a lot of really cool details in here, and you're going to be able to do that with color. So we kind of highlighted some of those little details in here with pencil, but now we're going to be able to do that with color as well. And where we have shadows and shading. So, and then Scott, let me know if it doesn't look as right. I'll try to light this a little bit better. So I'm going to kind of just take a very light orange, and I'm going to go over the rest of this because I can always take the tone a little darker. I'm going to go to the...
It looks fine. It's just the shadow from your hand makes it a little bit darker when you're drawing, but it looks okay.
All right, let's see if I can back this dude up a little bit. And all right. So remember, as you're going, we're going to kind of build up our colors. And what I'll tend to do is I'll do like little, here, I'll do it with a darker orange. Take my darker orange and I will just kind of make a little line about where the shadow is. So this right here, 1, 2, I did a 1, 2. That kind of gives me an idea of where this shadow is going to come down. And I'll map those out. So that when I'm filling in with color, and then like this little piece here. So notice like in this little pivot where it looks like an M, there's a little bit of a divot in there. So I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but I'm just mapping out my shadows. And then go ahead and start to fill in where you have color. And he's kind of got it's like an electric orange. I'm going to fill that in. And depending on how big your drawing is or how small, like mine's not that big, details, I find them to be a little bit easier when it's a little bigger.
Excuse me, I missed the video. I think I'm late.
That's okay. So we're getting into using color, and Keen, we're using our seahorse right now and giving color just like it is in the picture to our seahorse. So kind of understanding shadows, how to make better shadows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is to start in with color here and add color to your seahorse. And not just color the whole thing one color, but really get into the details of it. So now I'm going to take my purple, and I've already kind of mapped out where my shadow is, right? And I'm going to go a little bit darker. And I noticed too that in here I've got like a crease. There we go. All right, so you can kind of see already, again, with purples, I'm not using a darker orange. So when you're using like greens and you want to have kind of a deeper shadow on something that's a little richer, like a richer shadowy color, you would want to use a dark red. Blue, I would use blue and purples. I usually use an orange, you know, or a,
Your hand, I can't see the thing.
how about that?
Thanks.
Okay. So my hand will be in the way a little bit of just my part of the drawing, but it won't affect what you'll be able to see on the seahorse itself. Because right now to get my light over there is going to be a little difficult. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to blend my orange up. So when we're blending color, specifically if you're using, I mean, really markers too, but specifically with colored pencils, if you start off, I'll start off applying a little bit more pressure, and then I'll gently lighten it up as I go up. That'll help me create kind of a softer gradient feel. And I can go in with a yellow and lighten this up even a little bit more. I see like right in here in this piece. And this is going to apply to when we start doing our creature that we were drawing yesterday, and how we use color and then opposing colors, opposite colors, to create more dynamic shadows and textures.
Ben Saif has a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, buddy.
So, if I'm using yellow, does neon pink sound good?
For a shadow or to add on to the top?
Like how you're using red, is neon pink okay?
Well, neon pink it's not really a deep enough color to give you a contrasting shadow. If I were you, I would do either like a maroon, like a darker red, or
Because I just tried a little bit of it. I think it looks fine.
okay. As long as it's darker than that orange or that yellow that you're using, you can use that as a shadow. All right. So you can kind of see how that's already taking place here. I've got this piece, which is right here. And then I'm going to start to fill in down where the nose is. Let's hope they call that a nose. And really pay attention to the details in the oranges, how things are set up. Really get an idea for value, and value means like the lights and the darks, right? Even if we're using color to do that, so that we can start to distinguish some features of our seahorse. I'll layer quite a bit, which is what we're kind of doing now, and going back over color, which when I layer, I'm not pressing too hard at all. I'm going over pretty gently back and forth as I'm building up my color. All right, let's try this. And see, like even this little line in here is right here. So every chance you can get to make something a little bit more distinguished, give it a little bit more character to it, kind of helps the believability of the color of your creature. And two, what I find is nature gives us plenty of examples of color and blends of color, and to use that when you're doing your own creatures, your own characters. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow here. It's picking up a little bit of my pencil lead, but that's okay. So as you're moving through, just remember layering your colors. So don't press too hard to start. And work light to dark. I don't know if anyway, I've gone snorkeling in the Caribbean once, and there are some pretty fantastic colors in the water. All right. And then I've got like the ridges here too that are a little lighter. So what I'll end up doing is creating a darker line a little bit, and then that'll bring the light part up on the ridge, just like it is here, the little ridges that you have. And then once I've got that in, I'll go back with my purple. Like so, and just kind of blend that in. And then if I need to go even a little bit darker, like I've got a mulberry purple. I would go in with a bit of a darker purple if I need to, just to get some shadow. But as you can see right here, it's not too dark. It's all kind of blends together pretty well. When you're using colored pencils too, I like Prismacolor because it's a softer pencil core, if you will, like the color is, and a softer pencil core allows you to blend better. So we've got those areas come around. I'm going to go a deep purple for his as part of his eye. There we go. So you can kind of see how that's taking shape. Now, also, nature, it's good to do observational drawings, right? Especially when we're lighting something. So if you're coloring your own characters and doing your own thing, how do they look in certain lights? Well, this kind of gives us an idea right here. And because our light source is from the top, look at how that affects as you move further down. So I have a lot more orange at the top. And then as I move down in between each ridge, I see more shadows, right? And it gets more purple than it does orange. So that gives me an idea of kind of where light is traveling.
Liza has a question.
Yes, Liza. Go ahead.
Like how to draw the animals, because I'm not very good at drawing.
Oh, you know what? So here's when we did, who did you say it was? Liza? Eliza? So Eliza, when we were drawing yesterday for the creatures, the best thing to do is to start with very simple shapes, right? So that's how I started here. That's how we started yesterday. And while everyone's continuing to work on their seahorse, Eliza, for anybody who was not here yesterday, I'll give you kind of an overview. So for our seahorse, I've got kind of an oval for a head, right? It's kind of an oval shape. And then I've got a rectangle that comes down for my nose. And then I've got a circle at the end of that oval where my eye is. So that gives me a head structure right there. And then I've got another oval for the body, right? Which is what this piece is here. So with just two ovals, a rectangle, I'm able to already kind of map out. And then I've got a circle down here where it's coiled. And then you just start to connect the lines. Does that make sense? So using basic shapes. All right, so as you guys have your seahorse going, I'm gonna get a little bit more orange in here. Remember, take a look at that light source and how that's reflecting down, how that makes part of the seahorse a little darker. And again, use that contrasting color. Are we gonna watch the video? Oh, Keen, so we were going to, buddy, but Scott is having issues with his internet, and because it streams from his location, we are not able to today. All right, and then also take a look at this ridge right down the middle. And you see, like, I've got a line, and I think we all have a line that we did on our seahorse. You can start to accentuate that also by giving it a little bit of shadow underneath, right? And that'll start to lift that ridge just like this. I'll do the same thing here, right? And all of a sudden it starts to give my highlight, which is right in the middle. All right, I'll do a little bit more orange. So I love the color of the seahorse. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, I'm working lighter to darker. What would I do if I was using brown to make certain parts look darker? So you could use a brown. What I would do is I would be very gentle about how you apply it. So if you take a look at the color in this, you know, where might a brown be? Maybe a little bit in here, it's a little bit more purple.
No. I meant if you were using brown to color in the walrus I kind of wanted to do, then what color should we use to make the brown darker?
Oh, I see. Good question. So if you look in here in those browns, you're talking about doing maybe a bit of a very dark blue, right? A darker purple even in here would work to take that brown a little darker.
Could you move your picture up? We couldn't really see the walrus you were pointing at.
This guy right here. So like if you look on the back edge of the walrus, like we have some pinks in here, which gives some browns. It kind of lends itself a little bit more to a deeper purple, you know, for shadows. Here, I'll move. All right, so we're gonna give this like another 5 minutes on our seahorse, and then we're gonna bust right into our characters so that we can start to see how that turns out. Remember when you're blending, so if I want to go from, I'll notice that I've got a lighter orange here. I'm going to go a little heavier, and then as I let up on my pencil lead, it starts to create that gradient that goes from a darker orange to a yellow.
I think Keen wanted to share.
Okay. Go ahead, Keen.
Okay, so this is the walrus I made, and this is the seahorse.
Nice. Look at the color on that. I like your use of purple too in the shadows.
Yeah, I think I like this better more.
I think you did a great job, man. So the fun things with colors is if you ever have a chance, and you always can Google it, but if you ever have a chance to see it in person, Monet, I love Monet and how he does colors. So if you look at the Impressionists, which is an era in art, Impressionism, it's amazing what they do with their colors and how they build and layer shadows just by using, you know, opposite colors. So like greens with reds and stuff like that. It's pretty impressive. That's where I get my inspiration from on these things. All right, so, and then notice too, like there's little bits of orange, and then, you know, capture all those things. It's part of what makes these creatures so interesting, is all the little eccentricities. All right, so we'll get in here a little bit. And then, yeah. All right, so we can kind of start to see how that builds out in color. Ethan saw a Monet exhibit? Yes. Monet, we have one here going on in Chicago right now that I want to get down to at the Art Institute. And Monet was the first time that I saw the first time I didn't get his stuff really. I saw it in books. I was like, okay, I'm really not that into it. And then I saw his stuff in person, and that totally changed my mind on Impressionism and that kind of art, because I thought that was absolutely stunning what he did with color. All right, so I'm gonna kind of finish up some pieces here. Add a little more yellow. Again, a softer, if you're doing colored pencils, a softer, like a Prismacolor, allows you to blend a little easier. So you can blend your colors nicer. Let's get in here with some orange, a little bit more purple. And I'm only using 4 colors. That's all I'm using for this entire thing is 4 colors. Which is kind of a hard exercise sometimes if you restrict yourself and if you can see how well you can do in recreating color with a limited amount. Oh, Thorpe, that's all right. Yeah, it's, I forget where I put my stuff half the time. All right, so you can kind of get an idea there of what this looks like. Oops, and let's see, we're gonna bring this down a little too, it's a little too bright. There we go, right? And like that is a glorious looking seahorse, and it's cool to then replicate those colors here.
Yeah, it was up to
Thank you, Tater Tot. You're the best. What? Yeah. So any questions about layering, blending of colors, that kind of thing? Does anybody have any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering how you get shading with coloring pencils, because it's very, very tricky for me to do.
So here's the trick, right? When I start, like I'm going to start with the yellow, okay? And the yellow is going to be my base to this because there's really the lightest color in that seahorse is yellow. Now there's my base. It's one solid color, and I haven't pressed super hard. You know, I pressed lightly as I've gone around. Now I'm going to use another orange, and I'm going to notice that in here on my highlights, it's more orange. So I'm going to press a little bit more. Remember, I'm going light to dark, so I'm using my lightest colors first, and then I'm going darker. All right, so you can see how that starts to create these shadows right in here, except for it's not a shadow, it's actually going to be a highlight. Now I'm going to take the next color. So here's my 4. I'm going to take my next color, orange, and I'm going to go underneath this just a little bit more. Again, you can layer colors over with your colored pencils. And then like so. So does that make sense? You're building color. So what you want to do is don't press real hard the entire time. It can tend to get away from you a little bit, and then you're not going to be able to put a color over the top because you press so hard. So the idea is just to layer a little bit, and then I'm gonna come in here and show more of this.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Sorry, I have the hiccups.
No, you're fine. So try that and see how it works for you, because that's what I'm doing right now. All I'm doing is layering my color. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to bring that down again. Just pay attention to what you see on the actual image itself, and then recreate that as best as possible. Even the little nuances, which is what I love. So
Well, it's not going to look fairly accurate to the real life one.
you know, here the beauty of this is I'm not looking for realistic, like straight up realistic colors. I'm looking for how you look at the value of colors, meaning your lights and your darks, right? So your tones, how light something is to how dark something is. And that's what we're trying to recreate. So even in my colored pencil right here, mine doesn't look hyper like realistic, right? But I am getting the highlights and the shadows down, and I want to capture that from the image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to give it like literally 1 more minute, and then we're going to apply this, what we've done here, to our creature. You know, I'm gonna just kind of bring that down. You can see how the blending goes. And I've got that ridge still in the middle.
Would like to share.
Who would?
Keen.
All right, go for it, Keen.
I say to add another wallet rest because why not?
That looks good, dude.
Have enough time.
You've never done a walrus before?
Not really.
I'd say you did a pretty good job on that. Nice job, man. All right.
Liza's hand is up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did a killer whale, but I also did a shark because the others were a little bit hard for me.
Okay.
So I
Well-
just did a black tip shark because I was doing it with the Sharpie.
All right.
And scribbling really helped.
I love that. Yes. I like the teeth. And good job on your colors on your orca.
Yeah, it goes a shark.
Very cool, man.
It goes baby shark.
All right.
You'll find it there.
There we go. All right. So I'm going to stop right about there in my seahorse. We'll make that a little bit darker in here. So get to a good stopping point for you on where you feel comfortable.
Here's Maddie's.
Look at that. Yes. You got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it goes so
Absolutely,
cute.
man. Love the color in there. Love the shading that you did.
Yeah, it goes
Very
so
nice.
too.
All right. That is really good. Okay, so we've got our seahorse down, right?
Yeah, it
We've
goes-
understood kind of how to create shadows, not using black or just a darker shade of that color. And then to understand where our light source is coming from so that we can understand where our shadows are and then how that relates to the overall figure. So let's take this as an example, and then I'm going to slide this over.
Yeah, it goes so seahorse.
All right.
Too.
And let's get into our creatures. So one thing that you want to, as you're kind of applying color to your creature, is understand like what kind of creature is it? Where do they come from? You know, what's the story behind their, you know, species, that kind of thing. So, you know, that can help dictate what kind of colors you want to use. Is it mainly an aquatic planet? Are there deeper blues and pinks, or is it something like a jellyfish where it's got a lot of color to it? And that's what we're going to apply here. So what I want you to do with your creature is to kind of figure out your overall color palette. All right. And by overall color palette, I mean, that doesn't mean you have to use every color in here, but what are some main colors? So you saw on the seahorse, I used only 4 right colored pencils. That was it. And I use that to create my entire color palette for it. What I would recommend you do is to pick, you know, a reasonable amount, maybe 4 to 6 colors, 7 or 8 if you really want to go for it. And I'm going to color a little bit on top so that I know which ones I'm using. So I'm going to roll, here's a shocker. I'm going to roll a teal. So my guy here is, I'm going to have one box up here, and this is my teal. So this is part of my color palette. And
I'm thinking you should probably do like the Mandalorian style color palette, since he kind of looks like a Mandalorian styled a sea creature.
So what would a Mandalorian style color palette be?
That's a very good question. You could probably go down on the original design from the old movies, or you can do the new design from the new TV show.
So let's just say if I were to incorporate some of the Mandalorians, like Beskar armor, right? It's silvers, you know, gray tones, that kind of thing. His cloak and whatnot is more browns. So I don't know if necessarily I'm going to pull off a whole lot of that, but I am going to pull a beige. So I'm going to do a beige here, and then what I want is I want a bit of a darker color in that same family. Like that, right? So here are 5 colors. This is, maybe I've got some armor. I've got these 2 colors here, which might be a little bit more, I'm going to say fleshy toned, right? So more, Scott, what's what I'm looking for? Not bionic. You know, like when something's real, fleshy. What is that?
Organic.
Yeah, that's it. Look at that. Words escape me today. Organic. Saif, let's see what you got, buddy.
So everything was good until I was at my crab, so I just put a censored post. This is my seahorse and my pufferfish. I did a little bit of my jellyfish.
Wow, nice.
And some of my whatever that's called, I don't remember.
Your walrus?
Yeah.
Or your orca? Yeah, dude. Nice job. You got a lot done on the color on all the animals. I only got through half a seahorse. All right, so I'm going to get into, now I've got these up here. I want to have 2 colors that are a little bit more, let's say, vibrant, right? I want something to have something that's a little bit punchier, even though that color is a little bit brighter. So I'm going to bring in a pink. I'm going to rock that pink right there. I don't know how or where I'm going to use that in there, but I'm going to bust a pink and a peach. There you go. Wait, what concept? What concept work are we talking about?
The artwork at the end of the end credits of The Mandalorian.
Oh yes. All right. So when in 3 weeks, and this will have to be when we start December classes, I did order the Art of Mandalorian season 1, and I will share pages with you when I get that, and maybe we'll do something out of the Mandalorian concept work, because that is pretty stunning. Okay, there's my color palette, right? That's what I'm going to use mainly to bust out all of this, right? So I'm going to start to pick on my character what's going to go where. And I'm going to say, like, maybe on my pinks and my peaches, that's more of like an under, you know, like under the crab-like armor, right? Where can I find the glorious artifact of concept art? So if Scott can find it on Amazon, he can, because it's Art of Mandalorian season 1. He can pop that link in the chat. It's totally worth it, and it's gone down in price. All right, so I've got even my armor. I'm going to pick more of these colors in here, my gray tones, right, for his helmet, possibly some elements of the gun, and in his orca style body. And then I'll pull in some of these brown tones here in beiges, and maybe his armor in here is armor, crab armor plating up here. The outside of it is these browns. The underneath are these beiges and pinks. All right, so I'm going to pull these colors out, and then once I've got my color palette down, I'm just going to leave these colors out, right? So I'm going to leave them out so I know what I'm working with. And where did that other color go? There it is. All right, so here's what I'm going to do for my sci-fi creature, and then from here it's going to go to town. So I'll notice too that even in my helmet, if you look at, like, when Scott and I sported our Mandalorian, our Boba Fett helmets yesterday, there was some color in it, but there were also like battle damage pieces, which some of the color got scraped up. Good, sweet mercy, that is a long link.
Are we making characters right now?
Yes, so this is our own sci-fi creature. So if you were here yesterday, if you weren't here yesterday, we're taking, I'm going to go zoom out a little bit. We're taking 1 or at least 2 of these, right? And then we're creating a mashup sci-fi character of our own. So I've got an orca, a jellyfish, a crab, and a walrus. I used 4 of these creatures to make a sci-fi creature. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. And then 2, if you want, you can always refer back to maybe elements of color, like that jellyfish has some really cool tones, and it's a little translucent in areas. The orca, obviously, and it's straight up high contrast color. The seahorse that we were working on, and the nuances between oranges and the shadows and purple. So you can apply that same kind of thing here.
I have a question.
I have an answer. Go ahead.
Who is excited for the new Animaniacs?
I would be excited if it was on what, HBO Max, which I don't have, or Showtime or Stars, whatever network it's on. I have
Hulu.
Hulu. All right, well there you go. I'm out of the loop. I love Animaniacs though. Oh, here, hold on. While you guys are working on that, so I've got a buddy of mine, and he worked with Nickelodeon, did a whole bunch of other stuff with Animaniacs, and this is what I got from him this week. And if you're a big fan of Animaniacs, then you're probably a fan of Pinky and the Brain. So I bought his original sketch that he did for Inktober this month, and look at the ink work and the color on that. Talk about color use, right? And then he did a Yakko for me. Or no, that's Wacko. He did a Wacko. All right. So applying color to our creature, my light source is going to come right straight down from the top. So you'll notice even on my helmet, I'm going to be a little bit darker down here under some elements and lighter on the top. I do have some pretty cool friends. None cooler than Scott Ryder. I will regale you all with, so if you were in our ink class, yes, you should add that book to your gift list. Oh, hold on. Sorry, somebody was calling. All right, let's get back to the fun stuff.
I think we lost your, oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's back. Sorry. All right. So if you were in our ink camp, I had someone in there, Jennifer, and I met her a ways back, and I have a really cool how I got into Disney feature animation story that I will tell you all sometime. And I will show you my pass on how I got in, and I totally nerded out. And I kept it all inside until we left. And then I started screaming like a little girl. And I was yelling the entire car ride to the airport. And I wasn't yelling because I was mad. I was yelling because I was so excited. All right, so remember, little nuances, just like my jellyfish, right? I'm finding little nuances, and maybe if I've got some reflective surfaces here on my helmet, you know, I'm able to show that a little bit in there. And because this guy is ultra cool, this is going to be dark, but maybe this rim around the top is this teal color, which I had no idea where else I was going to fit this. So maybe this teal color is only specific to his armor, right? It's only specific to his armor. Yes, Scott, add that book to your gift list because it is it looks awesome, and I love concept work.
I didn't even know that book existed until just a few minutes ago.
Oh, my friend, yes. I'll have to, maybe next week, I will take you all up to my library in my studio, and you guys can see some books. I think we've done that a little bit in the past, but I picked up some new ones. All right, so here's my visor. Right, and then actually I'm going to bring that line up all the way to here. There we go. All right, so there's my visor. I think it's a little dark on my camera. Is it dark, Scott?
It is a little dark.
Yeah, I don't know why either. That's odd. Okay. I'll have to work on lighting for next time. All right, so I know what my color palette's going to be for my metal pieces, which is like his gun, his helmet, and here. And really that's all. This is more all crab-like armor in this piece and in these pieces here, although maybe I save my browns for his nose. I don't know. That's the fun part of what you get to pick out when it's your character and you can do whatever you want. And then also too, so I've got a little bit of shadow underneath his armor. So I'm just showing that by very gently pulling that off, and then I'm going to do the same now and pull this color in, and then we'll add a little bit of shadow underneath to show that I've got kind of a bend in his tail going. So like this part is coming up, you're seeing a little bit more light. And then how am I going to use my pink? So pink in this case and my peaches, I'm going to use my browns to kind of balance that out, but I'm going to go where it's underneath my crab armor.
Keen would like to share what he has so far.
Absolutely, go for it, Keen.
So I got this kind of crab dude with pufferfish spikes sticking out of his arms and crab claws for hands.
Yes. Nice mashup, man. I like that. All right, so even in, think of two, so like Keen's got that wicked mashup also. You don't have to have it go like down a certain line. I've got the color on this, like if you look at the crab, let me pull the crab out real quick. If you look at the crab, look at the color on the crab, and it blends from light to dark. Just because there's a ridge here doesn't mean underneath is one color and on top is another color. Take a look at how all that goes. I'm going to apply this same kind of coloring to my guy here, right? And so I've got some deeper tones where this purple is. I'm going to actually use brown, right? So we can take nature's colors and we can apply that to what we're doing on our creatures. To do something a little unique and different. And remember, this is sci-fi. So we want something totally out of this world. The art of the over garden of the wall. What is that?
For the Garden Wall, it's an incredible cartoon that was on Cartoon Network, I think in 2014.
All right. So has
if you
anybody
don't know about it, you should check it out.
I'll have to check that out. I was going to say, does anybody know? It's a game that my older son plays. It's called like Ori. Have you ever heard of that, Scott?
No.
Is it called Ori or something like that? The Legend of Ori or some Tater Tot's going to know. Come on, Tater Tot, help me out. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's so good, but
Yeah.
it's so hard, but it has such a great story to it.
It
I
does.
love it so much.
Okay,
I've
good.
listened to the soundtrack, the whole entire thing, like twice, but I haven't played it yet.
No? All right. So my son plays it. My older son plays it. And he's like, Dad, you really got to check out the artwork in this game. I was blown away at the artwork. And I tried to see if they had an art of book, but unfortunately they do not.
Can I share?
Absolutely. Who's that?
Grant?
Go for it, man.
I did the same mashup with you, but I just did a pufferfish with crab hands.
I like it. I like the crab hands.
And whale and bunch more stuff.
Look at that fish. Man, I love Nemo fish. Those are fun. Very cool, man. Very cool.
Can I share mine?
Absolutely.
Yay. I'm not done with it yet, so it's kind of bad, but
That's all right. Wait, Scott, who are we going to?
it's a,
Oh, okay.
a jellyfish crab.
Check that out. Can you hold it up a little bit closer? Because I want to see the tentacles in there. Nice.
Thanks.
I would freak out if I saw that in the ocean. I'm just telling you right now, I would freak out. That looks very cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice job on the mashup. All right, Tater Tot has a hand raised.
So I kind of made a ref sheet, but this is marsh. And they're kind of like a crab seahorse thing. So yeah.
So basically, you just made an entire character layout sheet.
Well, yes.
I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. Way to go. See, even from the first time, I have always dug your style and things. I thought you had a very unique style of what you approach. Evie has that style too. Liliana.
Nathaniel would like to share.
Right. Check that out. So that's got a Mega Man feel to it. You dig on that?
Yeah, I didn't even know that looked like the run that Mega Man does, and I was like, oh my god, that looks like the Mega Man run.
It does look like the Mega Man run. That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
All right. So you can see is I'm just building in my shadows and stuff and what I'm trying to pull off with this guy. I'm gonna get some pinks in here. If anybody else would like to share what they're at with their creature, I know we have a whole bunch of people out there. If you would like to share where you're at with your creature.
Liza?
So I did a orca with a shark tail, dragon wings, and spider legs.
Look at that. That is awesome.
Beautiful.
Yes. Way to mash up that creature. That's impressive. Nice job, Eliza. I like that. All right, let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of peach. Remember, I'm just pulling some organic kind of colors into the non-metal parts of my sci-fi creature so that I have some distinguishing elements. That way it feels a little bit like I've got some organic material to it, and this is kind of cyborgish. I know Eliza's got some wicked creature colors in that. All right, a little bit more of this. Again, the cool, like, here's what I love about colored pencils. The blending capability with colored pencils, how you can blend colors is fascinating to me, and I have come to really enjoy it because I find I'm able to do things I'm not able to do in other mediums quicker. Or maybe I should say with a little bit more control. Let's see, we'll make the under part of this gray and where it connects. There we go. All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes here, and we're gonna go around the block for anybody who hasn't shown and would like to show where they're at with their creatures. To give you an idea of what's coming up next week, we've got the legendary Mike Funt, who is going to get into elements of comedy, how that works. It's extremely helpful for what we're doing and stuff like this, because working your mind is one of the best things that you can do. What we're doing in drawing is just an extension of our creativity. It's just how we're implementing that creativity. Mike helps us kind of unlock that. And then I am going to get into creatures of the air and how they become samurais, right? So our creature is going to be a samurai mashup of some winged creatures, which means I'm going to do, like, we could do mythical dragons. There's all kinds of stuff on elements that we could pull off with those things. Keen made a new character. Somebody likes dragons. All right, Keen. Let's see what Keen has. Check
I
that
said
out.
make the pufferfish head with this jellyfish hair, like hair, and I'm still like the crab idea.
I dig it, man. Yes. What's cool about this too is when we're taking, so think of like Star Wars, right? And how many creatures were in Star Wars. Their inspiration for creatures in Star Wars comes right out of nature and real life. So us doing this is kind of the precursor to how we, how stuff like that, if anybody ever has any interest in creature creating for films and that kind of stuff, the better you get at kind of observing life around you and kind of drawing that out gives you the inspiration. That's what Chuck did. Chuck would draw everything all the time. All right, so there's my walrus. Get this bit in here. It's coming together, right? We got a little bit of Mandalorian in here. And I think his tusks are going to be beige. Straight up beige. All right. Highly doubtful that I'm going to finish this today.
So Ben, you just mentioned that about Star Wars and real life, and I remembered, you know, when my brothers and I were little kids and we had our Star Wars toys, I remember calling one of the toys Walrus Man, and I just looked it up, and his actual Star Wars name was Walrus Man.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So you were already in the know at a very young age.
I mean, he looked like a walrus, so we called him Walrus Man, and
Which
on his
character was
toy,
that?
that's what it's called.
Which character was that?
Let's see, I have it here.
I like your ability to recall characters and pop culture stuff instantly, especially with actual things. Look at that. Yes, I totally agree.
So yeah, sorry about my internet. It's kind of bad still, but that's Walrus.
That is definitely Walrus Man. Yeah, there's a lot. So that's what I love about like this creatures and color month is the more we get used to doing real life stuff, right? The more we can transform them into creatures of our own design and creation. All right, so I'm about where I'm going to hit for a stopping point on this. Get a little bit of brown up in here. All right, so there's my, it's a little, my camera's a little dark, but there is my, zoom out a little bit. There's my sheet. So there's my sheet for this week. There we go. That helps. All right. So the takeaways from this week, right? As I have my phone in my face, the takeaways from this week: draw everything all the time, constantly observing the things around you, even if it's pictures of stuff. If you're trying to come up with your own character or you have kind of an idea on something, draw something from real life that might give you some context in there, right? And I mean, look at what Tater Tot did in that whole character sheet, right? That comes from checking out animals and then putting that together into your own creatures, and that helps a lot. It's all observation. And don't get discouraged if something doesn't look exactly like what you're seeing, right? The whole idea is to practice, practice, practice. And I have a hard time not throwing stuff away sometimes, where I get frustrated and I'll just want to crumple it up. I would highly suggest that don't throw stuff away, keep it, because as you draw more on a regular basis, you will see that as you go back to your earlier stuff, how well you've done, right? You will grow. I guarantee you, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. Liliana and Heather Rose, did you guys have anything? You got some wicked shadows going on there.
I drew something, but Heather's hasn't finished yet.
All right. Check that out. I love the color on the seahorse too, man. Great job on your shapes. I like the fact that it's underwater and that plant. Some of the like underwater plants to me are so awesome because it just looks like they're floating, which the way you have the kind of the seaweed arms or whatever you want to talk about coming up makes me feel that way, where it's just kind of floating there, which I think is awesome. It's very peaceful and calming. Nice job, dude.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Maddie.
This is my like hammerhead shark / seahorse.
Yes. Look at those teeth, man. That could chew through anything right there.
And
Very
my
cool.
and somebody else would like to share too. My mom.
Yes. Way to go, Mom. Let's all give Maddie's mom a hand. Well done, Mom. Holy cow. Did you do that all today?
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I like your mashup sci-fi creature more than mine. Way to go. Maddie's mom. There you go, people. If your parents crash the show, it's totally fine and awesome. All right. So
Faith would like to share.
Absolutely.
So I kind of invented this little animal. It's a little weird. It's kind of like a starfish plus jellyfish. So it has that bulb there that has the wires of a jellyfish, and then out here it shoots ink. And it's kind of just like a starfish, like that.
I dig it. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Are you familiar with Star Trek?
I actually am not a Star Wars fan.
No, that's different. Star Trek and Star Wars are two different things, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of their chevron thing. That looks awesome, man. I like the fact that you thought out the ink splashing thing also. Defense or offense mechanisms. Very cool, Saif. Thank you, buddy.
Made a zombie shark. I haven't finished coloring it in though.
All right, let's see the zombie shark.
Okay.
And then let's go to Nate's iPad. I don't know who Nate is, but Nate's iPad. Yeah, okay. We'll go there. We'll go there next. Check that out. Dude. I love the eyes and what you got going on the head too. And that is that like an exposed jaw? Wow. Yep, that is definitely a zombie shark, man. Way to go. Love the color too, man.
Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to assume that your name is not Nate.
It's not. It's Daisy.
Daisy. All right, Daisy. Can we see what you did?
What? It's kind of like, I don't know where I went with it, but then I just drew a tail. I colored it blue. And I was like, at first I was like, well, maybe I could draw a bunny. And I decided that was too plain. And she has like jellyfish hair and just shooting the jellyfish.
Absolutely. I love the design, man. I like you can totally mash up any kind of creatures, and you did a very good job. Did you draw underwater too? Is that what I saw? Yeah. All right. I got the head nod. Very cool, Daisy. Thank you very much. All right, guys. So as we wrap this month, or not this month, if we wrap this week, I'm getting ahead of myself. So creatures to color, the whole idea behind finding inspiration in life around you, right? To use that in real life and apply that to anything that you might come up using your imagination. And then color. So like taking color from life and applying those techniques in color, like shading, using contrasting colors instead of just darker colors, or like say shading with black, and getting used to that because it brings richness to your shadows, right? And then the whole idea behind imagination and just doing mashups. So again, next week is all about creatures of flight and samurai, right? So we're going to draw some creatures of flight, and then we are going to get into samurai. Think if you want to, the peacock from Kung Fu Panda 2. There's all ways we can go with this thing, but we're gonna have a blast with that. So I will see you next week. Have a fabulous Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, everybody, and we will see you next week. Remember Mike Funt on Monday, and I'll be back Tuesday and Wednesday. Later, dudes.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.